Everything else has failed. I'm resorting to a podcast.
Yeah.
Now, what's up, people? I'm here with Marc Vinyls. My name is Gallo. We actually...
I am incredibly sorry.
Yeah, we flawless. Stocking on my pics, no, you saw this.
Marc Vinyls and I are artists.
Somebody...
Artist background, good friends growing up, decided to just create a conversation, but I'll give you the floor.
I have the idea of the Flawless podcast because we made a song back in the day called Flawless, and that's just kind of just the vibe we go off of, just mopping around with a gang and just enjoying life. So
getting kicked out of places,
I think the goal here is we want to talk about everything from music, personal growth, and life experience, everything in between, based off the things that we've learned. We want to share with the world because it can help somebody else out. So you about to start laughing? I can see it.
No, I'm not. We're gonna fight through it. I go by Gallo. I am an artist and a videographer. Originally from Connecticut, born and raised in Connecticut. Good friends with Marc Vinyls over here. Got into music when I was like 11 or 12 years old, making like garbage garage band beats, and then started taking music seriously probably like age like 15, 16. Got into video later on. I do video now and music too.
This guy, he's being humble. He pretty much does it all. He's a DIY guy. Anything that he can learn, he's pretty much tried to learn, and I've learned from him. So, name's Marc Vinyls. Released 200 songs to date. Got my first start in 2017 when a no copyright channel was putting out my music every week. They had dedicated Sundays to that. And I got picked up by channels like Jake Paul, Marcelo on Team Brazil, Anthony Joshua, who's a boxer, some of you guys may know. And through there, I was able to kind of just garner a fan base and just build it up over the years. The landscape of the industry is just incredibly different from putting out music in SoundCloud back then and YouTube. Spotify was just starting to now it's a TikTok world. Together, we've probably amassed 10 million streams on all platforms. So
that's wild to think about. And I think that goes into part of the reason why we're doing this, because we want to talk about the fact that it's either only at that or how we got to that, regardless of how you look at it.
It's adaptability. Like back then when SoundCloud was the thing, I started to switch over to YouTube and I found success on that early on. And now it's like we're in a TikTok age and people are doing podcasts to get on, or they're filming skits or mini music videos. Like the industry kind of changes I think they say like 5 to 6 years. And you just have to be able to adapt to whatever that, new climate is. I mean, there's a reason why people like Wiz are still relevant to this day, and Drake, because they constantly go with what's new and hot. And that's kind of really what brings us to this. Like, we're not afraid to try something new. I think in the past, I think other people might feel this way. We were a little stubborn at first, like, I don't want to get on that app or do that. Like, that's not what I want my brand to be. And then you realize, like, if you want to be successful, there's some things that you're going to have to do that maybe doesn't align with you at first, but it could in the long run.
People are not on labels, and they're literally just like posting TikToks and have an entirely an independent base, like from a TikTok audience or a song on there. It's crazy.
If you remember 10 years ago, you had people like Chance the Rapper with acid rap, which was completely different, right? You had A$AP Rocky, Drake, J. Cole, Mac Miller, Wiz Khalifa, like a plethora of artists that just sounded completely different from each other. And it built superstars. Like, a lot of those people went on to be superstars and are known as legends to this day. And I don't think we're really seeing that as much in the TikTok era. Only time will tell, but that's just something that I personally noted, and I think people have as well.
What would you define your sound as?
I don't like to define sounds because I think that's what puts you in a box. I've always just kind of made what I like or what I'd want to hear. To name a few influences, to if you had to put it in a melting pot: Kid Cudi, the late great Mac Miller, J. Cole, Kanye, and 50.
My current sound is definitely more on the pop side. Even with like the songwriting, I still do make songs where I have like rapping on them. And then I would say like R&B a little bit of hip hop, but pop has kind of taken the forefront. I'm not sure what direction that's going to go in. I really want to incorporate more hip hop into what I do.
Let's talk a little bit about what have you found to be the most challenging with how things were 5 years ago when you were seeing some success until now where it's oversaturated, and it's like how does one possibly stand out when everyone essentially is on the same platform doing the same thing?
I started to realize that it comes down to treating it like an advertisement. The attention span of people is cut down so much that you literally have 2 seconds to get to them. It's just a content-based thing now. It's like volume over, unfortunately, quality in my book. That is completely different than how it used to be.
I think the biggest challenge is people don't want to get out of their own way, and they don't want to adapt to what it is now. I don't know why people think that they can do stuff that worked 10 years ago, 5 years ago even. Like, things have been drastically different after COVID, right? Like dropping projects, for example, right? I don't know about you, but I'm not going to go and listen to an artist that I've never heard of's project. Unless I really like an artist or something compels me to listen. Everything is like this now. It's so easy to digest one quick song, or if somebody's doing a 15-second ad of their music video, I'm instantly going to know if I like this, I like the way it looks. Let me click on it and see what this is. If you're trying to grow, you got to play the game.
People need to zoom out and be like, this person hasn't heard of me before, and they're scrolling. They have no idea who I am, what my sound is, what I believe in. Do I deserve to get their attention for like 2.5 hours?
As an artist, everyone wants to make that project. I'm not saying I don't either. I just think that you got to treat it more like a business and understand that if you want to see success, that you're going to have to do singles. You're going to have to earn your way or prove yourself that way before you pour your life into a project that 15 people are going to check out. It might be harsh to hear that, but it's just the truth. And I think other platforms are so valuable that not enough artists utilize, like a Discord, like building up a community. Like, there's a difference between viewers, just an audience, and then people who are actually like subscribed to you because they rock with you. I think that's a big reason why we did this podcast, because now you get to hear us in conversation form, which takes on a whole new life.
Was there a specific story behind one of your biggest songs, Angels and Demons? Like, what made that song come to fruition? What were your thoughts as you were making it?
I mean, I made that song, I believe, in July of 2016. And if you're watching this, we are almost in 2023. So to sit here and tell you I remember why I made that what was going on at the time would be a lie, and I don't want to mislead people. Maybe as time goes on, it'll come back to me. But I'll take the second biggest song, which you're featured on, Running Free. It was in the middle of doing a song a week for a year, the first time. It was towards the end of, I think it was week 50 out of 52. The song almost sounds like you've completed a long race, or it's almost like a soundtrack in the sense where it's like you're coming to the end of your journey. And that song at the moment, I don't know what was going on that day. I found the beat. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to just encapsulate everything that happened in that last year, but in simple forms, and just be like, this is what it sounds like to be on a journey and not care where you end up.
830,000 streams. That's insane.
That's a song that we put $0 into. It made its way around, but I think that's a testament to when you make music that's authentic. And we've never been one to chase sounds or chase trends. We kind of just do what we feel like doing. I mean, that's not even really a hip hop song. It's like indie folk. It's just a fuse of a bunch of different genres. Sometimes you got to sit back and realize, like, even if you have a song that has 5,000 plays, like, you've impacted someone. Like, be mindful of the power that you have when you put something out. People don't always tell you, hey, I listened to your music, that helped me through it. Like, you might not always see that. Just know when you're putting your heart out and it sounds good and you see, some plays going up, you are making an impact.
Yeah, and I think people get caught up with stream counts. I'm extremely guilty of this. You could have a song that got like 2 million streams, and then you could have another song that got 140 streams and one of those streams from the 140 like saved someone's life. I'd prefer 140 streams and impacting someone than having like a song that's going on in the background at like Old Navy.
I want people to understand that this is a song we put out in 2018. It was my most streamed song this year. It just started hitting algorithms randomly. Like, when you focus on putting out singles and building a catalog, you give yourself a chance down the road for any song to go at any moment. But you got to put things into motion. You got to keep doing stuff. You see a lot of these guys talk about you got to do this or that, but they don't really talk specifics. And you always wonder, how does an artist get to that point? Emailing YouTubers, right? I don't care how big or small. You never know where that YouTuber might go. Letting them use your music while they're making YouTube videos, whether they're a gamer or whatever it is. We got a lot of our fans and streams from it just getting used by, I guess thousands of different YouTubers. Yeah, you can't copyright their videos, right? Isn't the goal exposure? Well, then these are the things that you can do. And as you get newer songs to go up, those older songs can generate new life.
People make a lot of excuses because things aren't like pretty enough when they first release it, because they want it to be this magnificent release, entire symphony, and the whole world sees it. It's like, the reality is, you and I dropped music that literally no one listened to. Dude, if you start to get in the rhythm after your 100th song, I think, you know how there's like put in your 1,000 hours? I think your career begins after your 100th song. You start to find your sound. You start to find like what you're good at as an artist, like singing. Is it production? Is it background vocals, writing? That leads into why singles are key, and doing what we did. Marc Vinyls and I, myself, Gallo, did what I call the golden year, which is a song a week for 52 weeks. Marc Vinyls did it twice. Psycho. That's a perfect example of like building up a catalog regardless of the numbers, and you get to use that down the road.
Putting out that amount of songs got me so much better at songwriting, mixing and mastering, engineering, figuring out different pockets, my voice. Like, it literally just grew me in every area possible as an artist by doing that. And you can have quality and quantity. People always try and associate like it's one or the other, but you can absolutely have both. You got to realize some things aren't going to hit. I put out songs even in the last year. I was like, this is the one, right? And it's not. What I've come to realize, and we can go down more of like a personal journey segue here, but you know, the older you get, the more you tend to overthink, and self-doubt comes in. Like, I miss being that 21-year-old who did the song week for a year, who was just wide-eyed, and I genuinely did not care, right? And the older you get, the more life experience you have, you start to care a little more. And then what that does is I end up putting out no music. Like, you and I this year, and I want to say this publicly so we can hold ourselves accountable in the next year, I think combined we put out like 12 songs. Now, you're talking to two guys who every year for like 2-3 years would put out 40 to 50 songs each. But you're not going to get anywhere just sitting there thinking all the time. It's like, you got to just do.
So you trip and fall in public, right? People are going to laugh at you for 5 minutes, and then they're going to go about their day. And 2-3 weeks from then, they're not going to fucking remember anything that you did. So if you're afraid to do some shit, just remember that no one gives a fuck. They're all in their own world.
You have to be okay with just starting something and expecting no results at the beginning part of it, and just doing it because you love it and you're trying to do something new. Because as artists, right, aren't we supposed to take risks? Aren't we supposed to flirt with the line a little bit and be okay? Because it's not all sweet, right? People want to be a part of a story. They want to be a part of something. They want to see something grow. For me, like watching like someone like Mac Miller on his come up, or I watched, I've been watching Central C now on his come up. You know, watching someone at the way beginning and then seeing them go to the top, for me, has always been one of the most rewarding things, because it shows you that it's possible.
I'm going to speak for myself here. This past year was like a very difficult year. There's definitely been points where I arguably, I don't want to say gave up, start to question, is this going to really work? Outside factors start weighing in on that. As someone who does a lot, I release a lot of content, I still feel that way. There was months 2 years ago where I didn't have money for rent, no money in my account, and I had to pay rent that month, and I was like still making songs. It gets ugly.
No, it certainly does. The one thing that we can say is we've always felt I don't know how to phrase it, but we felt an outside force. There's something always brought us back to this, no matter what was happening in life. And I think that's what you need to understand. No matter what you're doing in life, like, you'll know if that's what really fills your cup up, per se. We're on a floating rock in space. I'm going to take it there. Like, just put it out, Who cares, man?
I don't often let people know that I make music, mainly because I'm like in my head and I'm like, this seems like I don't want to force it. I don't want to like just talk about myself. A lot of the times people have found out, or like I've eventually told them that I make music, and they like really enjoy it. And thankfully speaking, it's impacted people. So why would I hold in songs that I'm scared to show people, content that I'm afraid to share? Like, why would I hold that in because I'm afraid of coming off a certain way?
I mean, you should do more of that. We've talked about that, of course. And there's a right and wrong way to do it, in my opinion. I think being super extrovert and like, yo, check me out, it is kind of corny and it can come off as that. But I think when you're having a genuine conversation, people can tell whether you're sincere or not, and then you kind of segue into it. Like, at the end of the day, you are a brand and you're trying to grow your business and get more exposure. Like, there's nothing wrong with slipping it in and being like, hey, let me know if you like it or not, right? You're building that through the internet, and that's what we've kind of been on since 2016, 17, when we started with YouTube and all that. That's how you get it. It's not by driving around your local area, partnering with all your local stuff. Like, yeah, that's one way to do it, but if you really want to amass something of great significance, the internet is where you're going to get the most eyeballs, and you got to focus on that. Most of our fans are from overseas. Shout out to Germany. That was my #1 country last year. So my goal has always been, how do I get there? Because I want to go where the people are listening, and people, they still have this old way of thinking about it.
Show what you have to the world through the internet. Find where people enjoy it, who those types of people are, and then you go to them. Like, you and I were on the same page with when we started. We were like, we don't care if people from like our hometown like this. We don't care what people say about this. It's always been about like the actual world, because it's out there somewhere. For you, a place like Germany, there's people who are like going crazy over it, and if you think too small, you're not going to see that. Whether it's music or not, whatever you're into, there's someone out there in the world that's like gonna fuck with it. So,
question for you.
Yeah.
As you've gotten older, what has been the biggest eye-opening experience as far as like what you've learned from the world as a whole that maybe you didn't see 5-6 years ago?
Me 5 years ago was very afraid to try new things. Afraid of growth, meaning I was afraid of being wrong. I'm learning that failing forward, trying new things, and realizing that you're doing them completely wrong or you need to change is one of the biggest things that you could do for yourself. Because if you're afraid to grow and afraid to be embarrassed and be wrong, it's just going to keep you stagnant in life, and you're gonna just go nowhere. Taking leaps and just not being afraid of what happens was one of the biggest things that changed life for me. Lived in Connecticut my whole life. A lot of things happened and lined up where I was like not in a good place mentally, financially, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take this leap. Taking that leap was one of the scariest things that I did. I went to a place where I had no idea what I was doing. I had to find a way to make money here. It was really dark and pretty lonely at times. But to me, looking back on making those decisions and taking those leaps and going through the times where you're really, really just like lonely and just like, is this all worth it? What am I doing? Those are the most defining moments to find out the type of person that you really are. When you're comfortable, you're not going to learn about the type of person you are. Failure and mystery and exploring is what creates you as a person.
Just put out what feels right. Trust yourself. And like I said, we're on a floating rock in space, so you got to zoom out sometimes.
Yes, sir. I feel like we could probably leave it on that note.
I'll conclude it with this. Thank you for listening to the Flawless Podcast. This was episode 1 with Gallo and Marc. If you like this content, all we ask is you hit that subscribe button, maybe drop a comment, hit us up in the DMs, let us know how we can improve, and we'll see you on the next one.
Appreciate you guys watching, and we're gonna see where this goes.
Let's go. Look.
Peace and love.
Pineapples and papaya.
Coolin' with my clique, yeah, we flawless. Stalking on my pics, no, you saw this.